Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 14th annual business meeting. That seems weird to say it twice, right? Brought to you by the Alliance Council and Sounders FC. So, who am I? Why am I here? I am Cameron Collins, president of the Alliance Council. So I'm going to be your MC here today as we see much more important speakers than me that you'll find much more interesting. Tonight is unique because it's a chance to talk about democracy in sports, which is something really unique to our club in the United States, but also to talk about what happened in 2022 with the Sounders and what's going to happen in 2023. Tonight's format will be a little different than it's been in the past. So we're gonna have speakers come up here and talk to you, and then there's gonna be breakout rooms throughout this building, and you can choose which topic you wanna go hear about, and then we'll come back here at the end for questions. So definitely come back after the breakout rooms so you can do the Q&A portion of this. And I guess we might as well move on to who people are really here to see. So let's start out with owner of the Sounders, Adrian Hanauer.
Am I bringing you back? Okay. Good evening. Listening to Keith Costigan talk about the Sounders rule the region, or hearing that, it's forever etched in my mind. It's amazing, an amazing call. So, so happy to be here. Happy to be here with people in person for the first time in, Cameron, four years? 4 years, maybe. And this is an amazing evening for our club to celebrate democracy in sports. The brain trust of Drew Carey, or certainly something that Drew Carey wanted this club to be beholden to our fans, to making them part of the process. And tonight is maybe there's no greater representation of that tonight as we celebrate, we unravel, unfurl, hear the results of the general manager vote for this year. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating in this democracy. You're gonna have some great presentations tonight. Garth, Peter, breakout sessions will be super interesting. I have never been more excited for a 5-year period that's coming up for our club, for our league, for our country. Starts Sunday in Doha. Obviously, we're all going to be rooting and watching the U.S. try to get through the group. Our Jordan Morris and Christian Roldan, obviously DeAndre Yedlin, Aaron Long, who spent time here, very, very excited about the Americans. Javi Arriaga opens on Sunday versus Qatar. Nuhu, obviously. So super proud of the representation that the Sounders have at the World Cup. 36 MLS players representing the league. So again, just an amazing representation of where our league is going. And that number is going to be considerably higher in 4 years when we host the World Cup here in Seattle in 2026. For sure. Again, just a few quick notes on the league and you know where we're going. St. Louis comes into our league this next year in 2023. I believe there were 65,000 deposits for season tickets. They're going to have a beautiful stadium. They'll be an amazing addition to our league. Today, you know, the long-awaited announcement on a stadium in New York City. Queens, 20, I think they announced the size, 25, 26,000. Gigantic, I think they said $800 million project. But it's really important that our teams in those big markets are successful, and having another stadium in New York is a great addition for our league. We launched a league this year, MLS Next Pro, which hopefully some of you got a chance to check out. It's the very beginning. It is, and I think in Henry Bronner's breakout session, you may hear how MLS Next Pro plays into the development of our players and how important it is. And again, that league is going to grow. We're going to add more teams, more quality. The broadcast will be better in the future. If some of you saw it this year, it could be challenging at times. But that's another important piece to our development puzzle. Leagues Cup coming up in 2023. This is a massively important tournament. Champions League spots on the line. Competition between the Mexicans and the U.S. Great rivalries. The League MX and the Mexican Federation are excited about this partnership, about this tournament, and it will be something that we get stuck into and go all in on as well. And finally, you know, the Apple partnership that is still being evolved and explored and developed, but this truly will be transformational for our league. It is a partnership. Apple is all in on this, and you know, information will come out over the course of time. But you know, integration into the Apple ecosystem, international distribution, so that we can generate fans, engage our fans all over the region, the country, and internationally. So those are just a few of the highlights. I don't want to take all the thunder. Peter, Garth, the breakout sessions will have a lot of great content, great information about what's going on at the club level. So again, I really just thank you all for participating, for being here, for being part of our democracy, for being part of the Sounders family. It's so important. You are the lifeblood of our club. Welcome to the very beginning of what this Longacres facility can provide. This room is obviously amazing and can just get that much better and provide opportunities for all of us to get together. So with that, I pass it back to Cameron. Thank you for your involvement and participation tonight, and to the Alliance Council.
All right, next up, we have Dwayne Nakamura from the Alliance Council, who's going to tell you whether or not Garth's speech coming up later will be his last as Sounders GM or the first of many more years to come. So, Dwayne.
Thank you, everyone. First off, welcome to the Alliance annual board meeting. First off, I'd like to introduce on your screen the Alliance Council members. Currently, we have 16 members, and this is an illustration of democracy in sports. We were elected by you, the Alliance members, and we represent you. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything that you want to know, please contact one of our members or email us at the website down there. You can visit there and contact us through there. If you're interested in joining the Alliance Council, please, again, we're elected by you and represent you. And you're welcome to join us. So all the details on how to join are contained on the website. I'd like to take a moment just to announce, call out and recognize Stephanie Steiner. Stephanie's been an Alliance Council member since 2013, and she'll be stepping down after this year. And so we want to thank her for her dedication and commitment. So on the next slide, you can see where some of the Alliance Council members sit. So again, if you ever need to contact us, you can try and find us in one of these sections. Next slide, please. So 2022 in review. What we did as Alliance Council, for the jerseys, we collaborate with the Sounders front office to help give input on design and any other details that they might want to discuss with us. We have periodic meetings with Sounders ownership and front office. Of course, this year we had a Sounders ballot, which contained several voting items, including, obviously, the GM vote. For this year, the total participation was a weighted 31.4%, which means each Alliance Council member holds that many votes for the same amount of tickets they own. However, the club's bylaws say that 40% is necessary for a quorum, so we didn't quite meet that for the final tally to be valid. So we'll get to the GM vote in a moment. If you have ideas about what you want to vote on, please, again, contact us as the Alliance Council, and we'll see if we can get them onto the ballot next year. So the next big slide is whether or not we like Garth or not. So next slide, please. And we had a 90% vote of confidence for Garth. So congratulations, Garth. You're good for another term. It's immortality, right? That's right. So next slide, please. Something that we got to vote on this year for the first time is the Humanitarians of the Year. Of course, this was announced earlier, but Stefan Fry represents the Sounders first team. Randy Mendoza represents the Defiance, and Sean Braun represents the Academy. Next slide, please. So something that we voted on was the Fan-Funded Field Initiative. This is part of the Ray Foundation 26 Fields by 2026. And the winning name was Full 90 Field. And we're currently still fundraising for that. Right now we're at $37,000 towards our $50,000 goal. So a couple fundraising opportunities will be taking place next week. Flat Stick Pub at all the locations will be hosting World Cup watch parties. And each dollar for every beer sold will go towards the fan-funded field. And this Ray Foundation will also be hosting a World Cup auction, and that will be from November 21 to 29. And it's a World Cup themed auction, so there'll be stuff with Jordan Morris, Christian Rodon, Nuhu, Arriaga, etc. Oh, one other thing. The auction items will be displayed. If you want to see what they are, they'll be displayed at the Sounders watch party at the Armory on November 25th, which is the England game. Next slide, please. Yeah, there. So if you want to donate, there's still time, and we'd love to have you donate. There's 3 methods of donating. There's the PayPal, there's directly through the website, and the Venmo through the Ray Foundation. So we'd appreciate it. Next slide, please. So another thing you got to vote on was the scarf vote. And unfortunately, I can't reveal the results tonight. You'll have to wait until you get your season tickets next year. But the way the process works is that the Alliance Council worked with the Sounders to pick a designer. And once the designers were chosen, we had 3 designers, and once they were chosen, we got to evaluate their designs, and we picked the winning artists. And then out of the winning artists, they designed about 7 to 10 different designs, and we narrowed it down to 3, and that's what you voted on. And again, the winner will be revealed in your box coming. Next slide, please. Another thing you voted on was the Constitution. So there were some changes, and it was ratified by 96%. There were some minor grammatical and formatting changes, and then also we updated the window for the GM vote to allow more cooperation with the Sounders in the voting process. Next slide, please. Some future projects we're working on. So obviously you'll hear more about this from Taylor, the March to the 50th in 2024. It's a huge project. We'll be working on with the Sounders front office the 2024 and 2025 jerseys. We'll be working in collaboration with the Sounders on some design details of this facility here, the Sounders FC Center at Longacres, and you'll hear more about that from Tom Riley if you go to his breakout session. The Sounders Hall of Fame is a project that we want to do in conjunction with the 50th. And of course, the FIFA World Cup is coming 2026. So, thank you all for coming, and enjoy the show.
Everybody, give it up one more time for Dwayne. He's really the unsung hero of Alliance Council. He does so much. Real quick, I wanted to mention one more thing about the Q&A at the end. If you're here in person, there are cards available around where you can write down your questions, and we will have some people doing triage and getting those up here. If you are watching online, you can go to hashtag SFCBiz, B-I-Z, and enter questions that way online. Coming up next, we have a speaker for you that needs no introduction, but I will anyways. We have Garth Lagerwey, the president of soccer and general manager of Seattle Sounders FC.
Thank you, sir. How's everybody doing? Let's take a minute. Like, can you look up, like, without getting vertigo? And just, like, the lights are pretty cool. If you guys could take the tour, there's this big skylight up there at the top, too. So, like, just don't lay on it and look down all at once, but it's a really cool facility. It's a cool building. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for re-electing me. 4 more years, right? It is an honor and a privilege to be the general manager of the Seattle Sounders, and it's a credit to all of you. You know, many of you who I've gotten to know over the years, even the ones that I haven't. It's a really special place, and to know that you are connected to the community as an organization, and specifically in my role, that you are a steward of the club. It is a profoundly humbling moment to get the results of that vote. And yeah, you know, I think I felt like I was hoping it was going to turn out okay, but you know, to see 90% got an A in the test, you know, that feels pretty good. So thank you all that. And look, it is, I think, also a moment for reflection, to look back on the last couple of years and the run that we've had, and because it has been really, really special. When you think 2016, you know, we signed Ladero in mid-season and change coaches and win MLS Cup for the first time. No shots on goal, penalty shootout, Roman Torres, Stefan Fry. You know, Adrian referenced the Costigan's call for Champions League, but I mean, what a save by Fry. I mean, who doesn't remember that one? And then to go back there in 2017 and make the final again, and then just keep rolling through it. I mean, these big moments. 2019. You know, still a really special moment. How many of you all were here for the final in 2019? All right. Now, look, I mean, and you know, our little motto is create moments, enrich lives, unify through soccer. I don't know any better description of that than playing finals with 70,000 people in the entire city going bonkers behind you, and the tension in that game where, Toronto was better than us for the first half, and then, we break through with a deflected goal from Leardom, and then eventually win it through Victor Rodriguez and Raul. And, standing up here, I can still replay those goals in my mind as they're happening. And just, again, what a cool community this is, that we've had all these events that we can share in our collective consciousness. And then keep going. 2020, it's a bummer of a year for the world, but we're back in MLS Cup again. It still will go down as I maintain the worst birthday in history, because my birthday is December 12th. That game is on December 12th. That was a hard one to wash off. The less said about that, the better. But then 21, we're right back there with the Leagues Cup final. Adrian touched on the Leagues Cup. This is a tournament that we couldn't possibly be more excited about. We have been competing against Mexican teams since day one. I think that the Sounders have as many or more Champions League appearances than any other MLS team. We took that first Leagues Cup tournament very seriously, and we are very excited about this being the future of our sport, competing against Mexican teams. And obviously the best example of that being what happened this year, 2022, winning Champions League. How was that? How I maintain still the coolest moment of my life. If you guys can just whip your phones out for a second, turn your flashlights on. Can we recreate that little moment? There we go. Look at this. So after the second goal, for those who weren't in the building, if you remember, everybody took their flashlights out, and there was like a 5 to 10 minute period where the whole stadium in unison was kind of rocking and swaying. It was like a spiritual experience. And then Jordan Morris hit the shot, the save, Ladero rebound goal, and then that's when the earthquake monitor went off, and you thought the building was going to collapse. So thank you for playing along with me, humoring me there. I appreciate that. But I just, again, when you talk about this being a special place, I just don't think there are that many communities that would have done that together, that would have instinctively somehow said, this is kind of like a concert. This is kind of like a collective memory almost, that this is special, that we are in this together, and to have been part of that. It's what makes this job unique, and really, really fun, and really, really worth doing. So from that Champions League high, that moment, we look ahead then to the Club World Cup, potentially. And we still don't have any information on the Club World Cup. So, I'm going to go into a big update, but as you can see, there's just kind of a blank space on my iPhone there. Look, they tell us it's going to happen in February, supposedly. They're just not sure where. And we said, well, what should we book? We got to plan a preseason, and that starts on January 4th, and that's really not that far away. And they're like, well, we'll get back to you. And they had a meeting. Everybody went to New Zealand, and they had a meeting together, and they said, we're going to tell you after the meeting. And they didn't decide. So I guess there's this World Cup thing coming up. So that's taken precedence, and they do have a lot of resources and energy invested in that. So we will certainly tell you when we know about the Club World Cup, and we hope there'll be opportunities even for fans to come. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll wind up hosting the thing. But right now, we just don't have any information. So we will continue to move forward on that front as we're able. But it does lead us into the next topic, which is the World Cup coming up. On Monday, the U.S. goes and plays Wales, and then eventually England and Iran. And I just want to say how excited we are from a team perspective. I mean, we had 4 players. Adrian mentioned them. But that's the third highest total in MLS. We have 10%, 11% of all the MLS players, they play for the Sounders. So again, when you just pressure check, the health of an organization, you want to check relative to your peers, but who are the guys that play in the World Cup? They're prime age players, right? Because I think one of the issues we had in our season was we were very prime. We had a whole bunch of really good players that won us Champions League, and we got a little tired as we went on. But to have 4 prime age players playing for their teams in the World Cup, that's a really good sign that we have a healthy group going forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. If you guys haven't seen the videos put out by U.S. Soccer of Christian and Jordan talking to their parents, for those of us who are parents, wow, it's it'll choke you up, man. It was really, really meaningful, those guys, and it was awesome to watch, and just, if my kids grow up and turn out like Christian and Jordan, I'm going to be a very proud father. So they're really special kids, and just couldn't possibly be happier for them, and really proud of them, and really proud of Nuhu and Javi, and again, it's a special place to be a part of. So. So for next year, we are moving right along. We have 25 guys under contract already. We are really looking forward. We're excited about what's to come. And today was the first day of free agency. No, we didn't sign anybody. Re-entry drafts tomorrow. Don't get your hopes up too high for that. But then we have a second re-entry draft next week, and a college draft actually coming up December 21st. So, and unfortunately, we have a relatively high pick because of how our season finished in a little bit of a disappointing fashion. But I think it's might be the first time since the inaugural year that the Sounders have had a pick in the top 10. So we're going to have to do our best with that, and hopefully uncover the next Christian Roldan. That's setting the bar pretty high. But if we can get any half of that, we'd be really, really happy. So we're excited about that. We're excited about building our team, and we're excited about next year. And look, camp is right around the corner. January 4, we open, if you guys can believe that. And so this long off season that we've had, we're right back at it. And guys like Obed Vargas, JP, they're still out there training. They're trying to come back from their injuries. They're trying to get ready for the Club World Cup, assuming it happens in February. So when you think of when you lift your turkey bone at Thanksgiving, just think of those guys out there running and really getting after it. They're making really good progress, both of them. Andrew Thomas is a little further behind in terms of these guys with long-term injuries, but we're very, very excited overall for their progress, and we have every belief that they're going to come back in very good form. So that kind of takes us to this place, and I kind of said at the beginning, look around. This is Longacres. The fields are going to kind of be out here for those who haven't seen that, and obviously we got some work to do in terms of that, and the facility is going to more or less be back through that space. The first floor will be the team space, will be the team facility, and then the business offices, the suits like me, will be upstairs on the second floor. But the important stuff will get done down here, and to have a state-of-the-art weight room, to have potentially things like an altitude room, a cryo chamber. That sounds cool, right? We don't actually freeze people alive. It's not like Han Solo. They just go in there and they recover, and then they get to play soccer again more quickly. Steam sauna, like, just imagine the nicest, gym you've ever been in, and then with some extra bells and whistles for pro soccer players. And it's really, really exciting to think about what this facility means to us. And not just in terms of the day-to-day. Obviously, the fields will be nice, literally being able to walk out of a locker room onto a field. Like, just your office is right outside your front door. That's really cool. But it allows us to do so many more things for our athletes. So from a nutrition perspective, we can literally control every meal that they have, right? We're going to have a food preparation staff that works for us, so we can get individual meals for every meal to every player. We can meet specific metabolic needs for every guy, really specialize it, right? And we've then have a world where we're able to specialize what they eat, how they train in terms of their physical outputs, eat individually, what do they do in the gym, and everybody has their individual plan. It becomes increasingly specialized, and that makes us just that little bit better. We're excited. We're going to have space here where we can expand our sports psychology capability. I think for a long time, in many walks of life, we kind of looked at mental health as crisis management. When something bad happened, then we jumped on it, we tried to make it better. But we're now, I think, all collectively discovering that being a little proactive about stuff like that can really, really benefit, and in particular, younger kids, as they struggle to adapt. We have learned so much about our young kids and how they progress into the first team. How important friends are. You don't really think about that. You're like, well, I'm going to sign this guy because he's talented, and we're going to feed him the right way and train him the right way and do all that. But it turns out a 16-year-old in a room full of 28-year-olds, he's not going to fit in. Like, he probably shouldn't. There's probably something something's gone wrong if he's like, I want to hang out with them. So, but it creates these interesting locker room dynamics. And so, long story short, I think it's really exciting, some of the stuff we can do from a sports psychology perspective. And we are able to add, again, as we move into this new facility, potentially roles that support our players and really help them with their welfare off the field as well as on the field. And now it's becoming, already this year for the first time we monitored their sleep. So just in case you thought we weren't intrusive and invasive enough, all we control now is what they drink, what they eat, how they sleep, what they do for at least 2/3 of their day, when they travel, who they travel with. And anyway, it becomes, we're doing the best we can. How about that? But having this facility has wonderful knock-on effects too. So as you can imagine, from a player recruitment perspective, certainly we're excited about things like the Apple deal because that's going to put us all over the world, and I think is going to lead to some hopefully interesting phone calls incoming saying, hey, that looks pretty cool. When those fans get together and they put 70,000 in for a Champions League final and 40,000 for a normal MLS game, that looks pretty good. So I think that's going to really help us with that. And again, just look around this place, the scarf wall, the trophy case, every Sounders uniform. Like, this is going to be home. This is going to be Sounders Wonderland. And again, thanks to all of you, because in a community like this, again, it is you guys committing to the team, committing to spending your hard-earned money on the players, and we have wonderful owners, and they've committed to taking those resources and reinvesting them in the team and reinvesting them in a facility like this, which is a phenomenal expense. I mean, let's bear that in mind. But it's an investment in all of you and in the club and in the long term. Adrian talked about 5 years. This is for the next 20 or 30 years. And that's an incredible commitment that our owners have been willing to make to try to take our franchise to the next level. So hopefully we can, we went through that run 2016 to 2022. A lot of high points in there. In sports, things tend to cycle up and down, and maybe it doesn't go forever. But a place like this is maybe not forever, but it's for a mighty long time, and it's really cool to have an asset like this at our disposal to really make us better as an organization. And one of the other cool things about it is when we host the World Cup in 2026, and again, how about we give ourselves a round of applause for that, huh? Seattle? What a cool time to live here, right? I mean, with this coming and the waterfront's going to be done, and who knows, maybe they'll be done building bridges by then too. Probably never, I think. But my kids asked me when the light rail was going to be done the other day, and I was like, well, when you're done with high school, something like that. But one of the cool things about the World Cup, and I hope you guys all get to do this, is to go home and pull out a map and teach your kid about the world and be like, all right, where are we playing? And who's playing who and where is that? And what's whales? And no, it's not just a fish mammal. I just think this is such a fun time for us now where, the season has ended, but you have this next month, which is it's just full of soccer, and it's so exciting. And when you put it in the context of 2026 and you're hosting here, what a privilege, and to think that we're going to host, we had Argentina that we hosted back in Copa America Centenario a couple of years ago. We obviously don't know if we're going to get a team of that profile here, but probably they're going to be at Longacres, and this is something that's set up to handle that, to support that. And just, again, the future is just so bright. The next 5 years are so exciting in terms of what we can do. And look, that takes me to my last point tonight, which is I do want to talk a little bit about player development. For those of you who are interested in more detail, you can go with Henry Bronner. He's as good as it comes in terms of developing not just players, but people. But we have had, the first team gets all the press, right? That's where who goes to the games. But one of the great cultural successes of our club has been how much buy-in we've gotten into our academy. I mean, the people that watch the streams and they play, and again, we've won the national championship in 17, then we won the GA Cup in 19, then we came back and defended our title this year. And it's amazing to me that we have folks that are watching these games and are so invested in these kids And look, I will tease that it's not going to be this week or next month, but there will be a kid off that GA Cup team that's going to be joining us. So that's, again, an exciting thing, and you guys can really see the stars of tomorrow on those academy teams playing, investing. And like, this building is the single coolest thing that could happen to them, because, you know, when we launched the Sounders, I mean, this predates me, we launched the soccer team. It was the Sounders, right? It was an unbelievable team, and they made the playoffs every year, and that was great. And when I came in, we started the transformation to become a soccer club. You know, launched what was then S2. Really, the academy had no full-time people when I started, and we've been able to build out that into one of the best staffs in America. And you know, we've won titles and signed players. And you know, look, I don't want to single anybody out up here, but you know, we have half a dozen kids now that could make an impact in the first team next year. And even potentially, you know, now we're getting into the phase where they can start games. They can be really serious contributors. And that's really, really exciting for us. You know, when you talk about what are we doing for next year? How are you preparing? You're like, well, the preparation's here. We've been doing it for 5 years. And these kids are ready. And when you have a facility like this, now those kids have a weight room. That's their weight room. And those kids have a film room. That's their film room. And they have a smart board in their locker room. And no, you know, you soccer teams don't have smart boards in their locker rooms. And we're going to be able to draw up plays and work on set pieces and do video while they're getting changed together. And this, you know, again, helps us feed them, you know, just educate them as professionals. So the opportunity here, the potential of this facility from a player development is really incredible. And the last thing that before I step down is MLS NP, MLS Next Pro. It's still a mouthful, right? We got to find maybe a more elegant name for that. But Tacoma Defiance, because I like that name. Tacoma Defiance, another excellent season under Wade Weber's leadership. Reached the Western Conference Final. And again, continues to. We had a kid on the best 11 for the league. And next year, that league gets even better, because the LAFC joins and the LA Galaxy join. And those are two really good development systems, and it's going to raise the level of competition that much more. So for those of you who want to come out and watch those kids that we play at Starfire, that'll continue, at least in the short term. And, you know, that's something, again, where these are kids. You know, we had, I think, a dozen kids from the first team, not even all kids, because Jimmy Madranda played a game or two, come down and play for this team. So it really is a melting pot of guys coming from the first team to get sharp, coming off injury, get prepared, and the kids coming up from the academy, and you know, being able to see, hey, here's what's coming next. So in conclusion, I couldn't possibly be more excited about what's to come for the Sounders. I think we've laid a pretty good foundation. We got a pretty good run. And I just want to say thank you to all of you again for your support of me personally. My wife says thank you in particular. You know, so it's really gratifying to have that support and, you know, to be able to build on that year over year and to have the stability, because when you have the stability, that allows you then to make long-term decisions. It allows you to make big investments like this facility. And when you do things like that, then you're going to have, hopefully, the ability to sustain your success over time. So thanks so much for listening tonight. Thanks for supporting the Sounders.
Thank you, Garth. Coming up next, we have somebody who, well, Garth is in charge of signing DPs for the soccer side of things. And this is someone that Adrian brought in, who's really the DP of the business side of things. And it's Sounders FC owner and president of business operations. I gotta make sure to get that right, Peter Tomazawa. Here,
use this mic. Before you go, Cameron, I want you guys to notice the shoes. For only $200, we still have a few left in the pro shop. You got to get them while they're hot. But aren't they beautiful? They're actually pretty cool, I think. Thank you, Cameron. You know, look, this is a real honor to be here. I'm really thrilled to see so many people out here. I mean, my first annual business meeting was 4 years ago. And I remember we did it in Adrian's office. And, no, sorry. No, we did it in the 90. And it was sort of like a smallish kind of room, and it wasn't a big deal. This is like professional. This is kind of crazy. And then the following year it was COVID, and we did it streaming for the first time, you know. And we were such rookies at this. I mean, now Zoom is so natural, right? You know what to, you know, now you put on a suit, a coat, and you wear pajamas underneath, right? But that year we were like eviscerated by social media because, you know, it was like a long meeting. We were talking for an hour. We started doing this, and then you guys were screen capturing, and they're like, this is like torture kind of thing. So hopefully it won't be like this going forward. You know, I was listening to Dwayne and listening to Cameron, and the Alliance Council is really an important part of the Sounder family fabric. And I'm so glad that you guys are all out here, because it's really going to be something like, if you guys really want to be really more part of our family, join the Alliance Council. There's monthly meetings. I'm so amazed at these people all the time, because I go to a few of them, and you know, they don't invite me to all of them, because otherwise, you know, I think they would go out of their minds. But you know, we go to these meetings and we listen for ideas, and some are really good, some are really bad, but some are really, really good ideas that we get from our fans. And you know, when we made the decision to close the upper deck, for example, Dwayne Nakamura, I know, boo, I know, but Dwayne Nakamura actually sat up in the 300 section, and he helped guide us to figure out how to do it in a better way, right? We've heard ticketing ideas, we've heard ideas on entertainment, what to do during the games. I love Garth is trying to promote the flashlight on the 70th minute. I personally would love to be organic. Hint, hint, do it. It is freaking awesome, you know. It is really, when we were watching it out there and once we saw all those cameras waving, it was like a moment, right? And we just sort of like, so I asked our marketing team, how do we get the fans to do this? And like, you know, so I'm actually begging, you know, to get that to happen. So, and I love the fan-funded field idea. It just occurred to me, you know, is this right? You're going to donate some money because people drink beer? All right, well, I'm going to do something right now. It just came to my mind. And Adrian, you and I, we're going to commit $1 for each beer drunk. And we will match that donation for the fan-funded field. All right? And I know our fans can drink a crap ton of beer, because I see the reports every time. And I would really appreciate if you drank the beer at our games, because, you know, that puts our per cap higher. Anyway, Cameron, thank you for everything that you do. It's always tough to follow Adrian and Garth when you speak, and that's kind of my fault, because I was scheduled to speak before Garth, but I thought, I mean, it's stunning that we won Champions League, but Garth is the best executive globally. He flew to Spain to pick up the award, or at least he said he did. He was gone for like a week. He says, I'm picking up this award, and we saw nothing. Garth, I still want to see this trophy. What did they give you for a week? I don't know what you did out there, but anyways, thank you. Congratulations for doing that. It was very well deserved. I do remember thinking, geez, you know, when he first got on board, he came and spoke to us, remember? And he said, you know, someday this club will win the Champions League. And we all thought, this man is effing crazy. What are you talking about, right? But it was really a dream. It was really kind of a challenge he laid down to the organization, and credit to him that he saw a dream come true. And as we've been talking about his prediction that he had in 2016, in the final analysis, when all is said and done, when we look back 10 years from now, I'll be dead, but you guys will still be here. You know, in the final analysis, 2022 will be remembered the year that the Seattle Sounders won Champions League. That is just freaking awesome. And it was just something so cool. It's the first American team ever to do so. And while, you know, a lot of people talk about the tale of two seasons, you know, sort of like we had Champions League,
And I'll give you a little insight as to how this whole thing evolved. But we had Champions League, and of course, this was the first year that we didn't make playoffs, right? Boo, sorry. But, it was really a tale of two seasons, but on the pitch, but on the business side of things, we literally hit the ball out of the park. The Champions League matches gave us 4 extra home games, which is actually more than what we would have, well, exactly the same number of home games we would have if we won the MLS Cup. The economics were slightly better because we don't have to share revenue with the league. Sorry, Adrian, I'm supposed to say that because that probably gets tweeted out, and then Don Garber gets a call and, talks to Adrian and says, what the hell's wrong with Peter? But that allowed us to really outperform the whole year. And I'll get into that a little bit in more detail on that. But, as with all things in life, when you start looking at the future, it's always worthwhile to sort of sit back, examine where you came from, evaluate where you are, and try to look for and try to figure out where that takes you in the future. And that's what I'm going to try to do here, and hopefully it'll be somewhat interesting. It is worth mentioning the one thing that I find completely fascinating about the Seattle Sounders is the whole concept of democracy in sports. It is really unique. We are the only team that has an annual business meeting. We're the only team. We're certainly the only team that allows fans to vote for our general manager. I question the vote. Okay, it's 90%. That sounds a little ridiculously high. Garth, I think Garth was promising things to people, I believe. But, it is so unique, and it is really one of the reasons why I personally invested in the company. It is fascinating that this is the thing that we talked about. I talked to some folks. Adrian and I were at the MLS Board of Governors meeting this week. It was yesterday, or Tuesday. What day? Yeah, Tuesday. It was on Tuesday, and I was talking to some folks about I have to give a presentation at the annual business meeting, and they're like, wow, that is so cool that you guys do that. I would never do it, but that is so cool that you guys do that. And we actually enjoy it. But I do remember it's so much better to be here in the building in front of live people. The last 2 years we've been doing it in front of Zoom, and it really was like so impersonal. It was so cold, right? But we did better than the time that we live streamed it the first time. So we were actually getting better at it. And I was driving over here tonight, and I'm like, why is there so much traffic on the 405? I thought people were working from home. But clearly they're not, because they're on the highways. And I'm like, well, maybe it's all over, but we'll see. I hope so. And it does have a lot to do with everything that we have. Anyways, Garth mentioned our mission statement. That's also unique to Sounders. We actually have a mission statement in our club. He mentioned the words, did you guys hear that? The create moments, enrich lives, unify through soccer. That is our mission statement. That is why we're here. We actually look at that lens on all the decisions that we make. What are we doing to create moments? What do we do to enrich lives? And what do we do to unify through soccer? And if the things that we decide don't tick those boxes, we don't do them. And it's a guiding principle. And that's really unique in sports, because most people think sports teams are about winning and losing. We talk a lot about championships, but yeah, because we win a lot of championships. But the reality is that's what's our guiding principle of all the things that we do. My first season, as I mentioned, was 2019. We won the MLS Cup. And I said, this is normal. We should go and win every year, right? And then in 2020, it was a weird year because of COVID, obviously. But we had a great performance on the field. We were runner-up to Columbus. And we were really close to winning 2 championships in a row. But that year was a devastatingly bad year on the business side, right? We had to cut 40% of our workforce. We had no fans in stands. We were basically a TV-only product, and it was really, really rough. It was mentally exhausting, And credit to our team, because they were able to soldier through what was really a difficult year. It was just horrific. 2021, you know, we came back a little bit on the business side. We finally were able to start having fans in stands towards the end of the year. Remember that? You know, and then of course we get bounced out of the playoffs by a team that didn't even try to shoot on us. You know, can you imagine some team not trying to shoot and still winning? So I guess it was all things come back in full circle, but you know. And then 2022, we had this kind of tale of two seasons. But at the end of the day, we did fulfill the Garth Lagersley prophecy, which is what I call it. Did we want to end the year the way we did? Of course not. And I want to go into a little bit of a story about 2022. And the way we thought about it and the way we're sort of thinking through Champions League. And, you know, we had qualified for Champions League despite getting knocked out of the playoffs early in 2021. And we did pretty well the first round. And, you know, Garth, Brian, they started charting a pathway that looked like, hey, we might do really well in this Champions League, right? You know, and we're like, gosh, wouldn't that be great if we could be the first American team ever to do that? And we were thinking about this sort of like, you know, okay, then of course it goes to like, can we get people to come watch this? You know, could we possibly dream to get people to come watch a Champions League kind of thing? Is this even worth it? And we're like, you know what? We need to go for it. This is the year. I remember the team side guys, they're all in, right? And so then we gave our business people this challenge. We need to sell the crap out of this Champions League, right? Our fans don't really understand it at that time. That was the truth. Because no American team has ever won, so why even bother, right? And I gotta tell you, you know, our marketing team, led by Taylor Graham, our CRO and CMO, they went out and they came up with this campaign. I remember so clearly. They went out and came up with this campaign, and Adrian, myself, and others were sitting in the room, Garth, and they were like, we're gonna do big effing deal. I'm like, no effing way, you know, no way. Like, I go, well, you know, of course I have concerns about the word effing. Of course, Adrian had no concerns about that word. But he was concerned because he's like, if you have to tell people it's a big effing deal, then it ain't a big effing deal, right? And he's like, and I'm like, that's a great point. And then Taylor, to his credit and his team's credit, they came back and they said, that's exactly the point. We need to tell people it's a big effing deal. And so we said, hey, well, who's going to be the pitch person for this thing? You know, or who are the potential pitch people? And they're like, we think we can get Marshawn Lynch. We're like, holy shit, this is approved. And they went out and got Marshawn Lynch. And it was incredible, right? And by the time and our team, you know, the way to win the Champions League is you got to play your best players. And so we were sort of sacrificing a lot of the MLS season for that at that time. So we call it rotating players, right? So we were rotating out our best team to play the Champions League. We had to give them rest, right? So we found ourselves losing or tying a lot of games we probably shouldn't have been losing or tying. Anyways, we're pushed basically, in sort of poker parlance, we pushed all our chips in on Champions League. And by the time we got to the final, right, we had sold 51,000 tickets on Big Effin' Deal. I went down to Mexico City. I was the only Sounder representative there from the front office. And I remember, it's a small side story. I remember my wife and I, we got a car and we drove into the players' parking lot, you know, in the stadium there, and these big burly Mexican guys come surround our car. And one guy opens the door and he says, "Don't worry, we're your bodyguards." I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm not an important person, so I've never really experienced, you know, the need for a bodyguard before. And then they're like, "Don't worry, we're armed." And my wife goes, "I'm not getting out of the car." No way. and then they take us in another car and drive us to our seats, and they closed off all the section to get into the area, and which of course made everybody in Mexico angry at us, you know, like because we had inconvenienced. Anyways, we tied. I remember so distinctly. We tied, right, in extra time. Fans were pissed. They were so angry, and the security guards come on around, surround us, and go, "We're going to be here a while." And so we were there for like over an hour and a half, just waiting to get out of there. At any rate, one of the fun things about being in the front office is you get to see some of the technology at work. And our system, as people are buying tickets, they're like little blue dots on it that represent open seats. They start disappearing off the screen. You know, Adrian and I we're talking about like how addicted we got to like, ba-doop, 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 ba-doop. And they start disappearing. Like, holy shit, we're selling tickets. Yeah, this is great. And then part of my job is to keep CONCACAF, the organizers of the Champions League, informed, right, of our progress in ticket sales. So by Friday, you know, all these little blue dots are disappearing, and I'm like, I call Felipe, and I go, "Felipe, great news. We are definitely going to break your record." 61,000 was the record for the final, right? We're at 61,000 on Friday. Blue dots disappearing over the weekend. We get up Monday morning, and at the end of the day on Monday, I call Felipe. "Felipe, we're going to break your all-time record. In fact, we may become close to our all-time record." And they're like, "No way, no way." And they're like, "Yes, we're going to break the record." That was 66,000. And we ended up with 68,741, thanks to all of you. So you should give yourself a hand for that. And you're going to do that, right? You're going to start it. Can we agree the 74th minute? 1974? I'm just saying. Look at, you know, the game behind the game. So the Champions League represented an opportunity for us. Adrian and myself, we're on the World Cup committee, chaired by our Maya Mendoza, and Beth Knox, who's the Seattle Sports Commission CEO. We knew that the FIFA folks were going to be coming to this match, the Champions League final. This is probably not a story you guys, if I've already told you the story, then you can say, "Peter, stop." But it's pretty interesting. Peter, stop. That's the boss. So thanks for listening. Good night. No. So we get to the final, and we know we're having the FIFA audience there. So we turn this into a huge opportunity for Seattle. So and of course we control where everybody sits. So we give the FIFA folks a suite. Then we got the Puyallup tribe of Indians, the entire council. You know, they're Emerald Queen Casino owners. They're really close with us. And so I asked a favor of them. Could you please send all your people, your whole council and tribal chief to a suite? We can put you in a suite and put them in right next door to the FIFA folks. The suite next door to that, you know, Maya and the team got really busy, got all the government officials, you know, the mayor and all those people came, really important people from the government. We put them in that suite. Then we went to the FIFA folks and said, "Hey, could you do us a favor? Could you go visit these really important guests of ours?" Right? And then, so we had, you know, we were going to both sides saying, "Can you do us a favor, visit each other?" Anyways, that moment that we created for all of you was actually a moment we created for all of Seattle. Because I am convinced to this day that actual moment, that connection that we made with those FIFA folks, the cities all say they can host major events, sell out stadiums, and do soccer, right? We could actually prove it, because they can only say it, right? And I'm convinced that match was the tipping point that got Seattle the World Cup in 2026. And so there's so many great things that happen, and we talk about it on the field, but this is a massive legacy that's going to be left for the city. One of the things we talked about was some of the young talent that we had. You know, after winning Champions League, we sustained a few injuries, JP being the biggest one of all those. And, you know, the positive of that was we got to see some of our young talent play. They really developed over the year, really gives us a lot of hope for next year. So that's really positive. You can talk to Henry about that. But one of my favorite highlights on the field of that year was Nuhu Tolo's goal. How freaking awesome was that? But what you guys don't know is I usually host people in my suite for matches. And before every match, I always say, this is the night that Nuhu Tolo is going to score. Right? And I'm never wrong, I'm never right. But that night, all the people in my suite were like, you're a soccer savant and genius. Oh my God, you called it, Peter. You called it. They don't know that I tell them every crew that comes through that thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm a genius, yeah. But you know, the real genius is obviously Garth and Brian Smetzer. We did talk about how we outperformed our goals. You know, and this training center, and I know we've talked a lot about it, but this training center is really for not just the team, not the business side, but for all of you. And we are intending to allow this as a place for our season ticket members, our fans, and our corporate partners to come visit. We're gonna build a deck off the top of this thing, off the second floor. You'll be able to come visit us, watch the players train. You gotta be nice to us, but we'll let you come and do that. It is an amazing place. It's 158 acres. It's 1 million square feet of office space. It's spectacular, as you can see, and I hope you get a good chance to view everything. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what we have coming up. And one thing that is definitely true, that is a factoid, is prior to CONCACAF, if we have over 60,000 fans in the building, we have never lost. 8 wins, 0 losses, 1 tie. Now we're 9 wins, 0 losses, 1 tie. So what's the lesson in that? We need 60,000 people to come every game, right? So like, let's get people, let's get your neighbors to come to watch us play. I talked about the FIFA thing. So let's talk about next year, because they're gonna give me the hook in a few minutes. World Cup, we're hosting 4 watch parties at the Armory, Seattle Center. All 3 US games and the final. Please come to that, that'll be a lot of fun. I was at the roster reveal in New York City. Maya and I were there as Seattle representatives for the World Cup. She and I are also going to Qatar, December 3rd to the 8th. So we'll be giving reports from there. But you know, the World Cup is really exciting. As Garth mentioned, as he already mentioned, we don't know when the Club World Cup is going to be. But they said to mark out February 1st to February 12th. That's about as much instruction as we've gotten so far. Next year, I'm going to announce that we're going to have a new community kit. That's not new information. But this new community kit that's replacing our Jimi Hendrix jersey that you have on there is going to be incredible. It's going to be awesome. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be, but it's going to be awesome. And you guys should want to, we're going to make sure those people who are interested in get the information about when this thing goes on sale, because they're going to be gone. We broke all records with Jimi Hendrix, and our Adidas people, so this is not me just bragging about it, believe that we're going to crush Jimi Hendrix with this New Jersey kit. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. We're bringing back the doubleheader. I think people are going to be really happy about that. Again, credit to our senior staff team that worked it out with the OL Reign, but we loved hosting that doubleheader. We broke the record for the single regular season match. 27,000 fans got to see an NWSL match with the OL Reign. We're planning to do it either right before, it depends on how the schedules are going to work out, but either right before the Women's World Cup or right after. So it'll be either a send-off match or it's a return champions match kind of thing. So that'll be a lot of fun. Keep your eyes and ears open for that. The Apple TV deal is significant in the sense that every season ticket member will get a subscription. Every season ticket member account. Sorry, I know I see our salespeople like, don't, but it's every season ticket member account will get a subscription included in our season ticket member package. We're picking up the cost of that, all right? But this is really, usually when Garth and I speak, we do this kind of like ham and egg thing before some matches, and usually all the questions are to Garth. Like, he speaks, I speak, he gets 80% of the questions, I get 20%. The week we announced the Apple TV deal, it was reverse. I got 80% of the questions, he got 20% of the questions. And what it really illustrated to me was I didn't realize how hard it was to watch us before. And my wife always complains, are you on Prime, ESPN, Fox? Where are you guys? I don't know where to find you. And I didn't realize that was such a big issue. And this Apple thing solves a lot of stuff for us. We're going to play on Wednesdays, we're playing on Saturdays, right? We're going to be on Apple. And you can watch this from anywhere in the world. There's no blackout restrictions and all those kind of things. And the other thing too is, and I'm going to announce that we're going to be, I hope that if you don't have a subscription that you get one and you'll be able to buy it through us. More to come, more details to come on that, but we'll be able to provide those non-season ticket members, or if you want to buy additional ones, that ability. But it's really going to be amazing. Apple is so much fun to work with. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest companies in the world, and we can see why they are. The Leagues Cup is probably one of the most exciting things, I think, that we could be doing. All the best Mexican teams, all the best US MLS teams, all in one tournament, and these are meaningful matches. This is not just us dreaming up another way to generate revenue. I know this is a business guy saying that, right? But the truth is, these are 3 spots in Champions League up for grabs. There's very few ways you can get into Champions League, and we all know now what Champions League means, right? So these are 3 spots up for grabs. Every team is going to be trying harder than heck to win it, because that's one way to get in. And not only there's a nice monetary prize, but the reality is that Champions League prize is bigger than anything that we could think about. And so just sort of, I'm going to turn it back over to Cameron, but what I do want to say is we're really excited about next year on the pitch as a comeback kind of year. We just didn't feel right the way it ended. We appreciated so much the support that you guys gave us. That final match, the Fan Appreciation Day, the show rate, the people that came, we were like, no one's going to come. Well, you know what? We were wrong. It was a great day, and we really appreciated it. It showed a lot about how you guys feel about us as a club, and everything that we do is we feel about you guys as a community. The number of people that have come out tonight, just incredible. I hope you enjoy the tours that we have set up for you. And really, we couldn't thank you enough for being part of our family. I do want to encourage you guys all to consider being part of the Alliance Council. You get access to people like myself, to Garth, to Adrian, and you guys, you're here because you care. And if you have ideas on how we can be better, we're listening. We don't own the market on ideas. We get our best ideas from other people, and we're never ashamed to copy things. We'll try to do better, but we're never ashamed. So, in conclusion to that, I'm going to turn it over to Cameron. But thank you very much for listening to my babble, and really appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Peter.
Am I excused?
You are. All right, coming up next, we have the breakout sessions. And so I'm going to quickly tell you what they are and where to go. If you want to see Maya Mendoza-Ekstrom talk about World Cup 2026, social impact, and Rave Foundation, that'll be right here with me, so you'll hang out in here. If you want to hear Taylor Graham talk about the March to the 50th project, you can go out that way. In fact, everyone can go out that way unless you're going to see, where's the other groups? Tom, who will be over there talking about Longacres. We have Henry talking about player development, so you go down that way for that as well. So if you are online, you're gonna be in here with us. So those are the different breakout rooms. They're all amazing, and don't worry, if you really wanna see one of the other ones, they will be up online, so you'll be able to watch them later. So you're free to go to your breakout rooms. For the Q&A. Welcome to the breakout room. We are here today with Maya Mendoza Ekstrom, and I need to make sure that I have all of your the stuff to say about you here. So, Maya is the Chief Operations Officer for Sounders FC and oversees the legal, people, and culture of the club, Rave Foundation, and social impact departments, and has been with the club since 2014. Maya is a board trustee member of the Wing Luke Museum, a board of directors member of the Seattle Parks Foundation, and trustee at Highline Schools Foundation. So right now, Maya is going to discuss social impact and World Cup. Thank you, Maya.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, and thanks. Hi, everybody who's still with us on the live stream. As a reminder, you'll see me for the next 20 minutes or so. If you do want to learn about March to the 50th, Longacres or player development, those videos will be up later online, so you won't miss out on what's happening in the other breakout rooms by being here with us. But my job tonight is to talk a little bit about the two things that have consumed a lot of our time over the last couple of years. You heard a lot about World Cup already. And I think the most important thing for all of us at Sounders FC is as we look ahead to the next 4 years of growth, the opportunity that's in front of us, the chance to celebrate a 50th anniversary, the chance to open this facility and do all of the things that Garth talked about is all leading towards World Cup 2026. But equally important to that for all of us at Sounders FC is how we get there. We want to be a responsible and sustainable business. We, of course, want to put 60,000 fans in the stadium. We want to have really good business outcomes as a for-profit business, but we also want to get there the right way. And what we are doing here tonight is to sort of share year 2 of the progress that we've made, the impact that we've made specifically in applying the social justice framework that we started in 2020, and then also to share about how that connects to the legacy and the implications for the World Cup. Because unlike some other cities in the bid, not all of them, but unlike other cities in the process, the Sounders and soccer were at the heart of Seattle's bid. And the way in which soccer shows up in Seattle, the way in which you all show up as fans and experience match day as fans was threaded through every aspect of the bid. And it allows us now to talk and shift as we've gotten the World Cup here in the city of Seattle to how we deliver on the legacy, how we deliver on our commitment to sustainability, how we deliver on our commitments to human rights here in the city of Seattle in 2026. To start, though, tonight, I want to talk a little bit about our social impact report for 2022, which is our second year of that reporting process. So hopefully you'll see as you read the report, it is live now. We'll publish it in concert with this event tonight. You'll see us talk a lot about humans and centering humans in how we measure our impact. Of course, there are numbers and there are quantitative metrics, but really for us, it's about impacting lives in deep and meaningful ways. The other thing with year 2 that we get a chance to do is compare ourselves to where we were in 2021, to look at the ways in which we had the opportunity to behave in consistent manner, and then also what are those things that we could add and expand on as we continue to push our social justice framework into the forefront of everything that we do at Sounders FC. So you heard a lot about the 26 by 26 campaign. Obviously, fan-funded field is a part of that process. That's something we were able to codify through 2022, and I'm happy to report we're halfway to 26. We opened our 13th mini pitch this year. We're halfway there on that 26 by 2026 campaign. We doubled down on our partnerships with museum partners, our cultural partners, and hopefully you are all very much aware of our partnership with the Intentionalists, with Laura Kleiss's organization to put us in a position to exercise our spend and our capital like it matters and to align our activities with small, minority, women-owned, and BIPOC-owned businesses throughout our region. This is the second year of the report. We said we were going to transparently report to all of you, and this is the second year and the opportunity to do that. And so the report that you see in front of you, or if you check online, because it's published there today, will also detail the ways in which we have expanded our work this year. One of those ways is the opportunity to celebrate specifically with the 50th anniversary of Title IX and the 50th anniversary of Washington State Youth Soccer, girls soccer, and Washington State Youth Soccer. Girls and women in soccer. We were also happy that this year, oh, you can go back a slide. We're still okay. We're still okay. This year, we were also able to start a 1.5-year partnership with the Center for Equity and Inclusion out of Portland. And they are really guiding a group of our staff, 100% of our leadership, including all of our head coaches, all our ownership, and all vice presidents and above in the company, and a team comprised of folks inside of our front office, an equity team, on a 1.5-year process to raise our consciousness about race and racism and implicit bias in our own culture and workplace, to undergo a cultural assessment internally for us at Sounders FC, and then to use that data and that consciousness raising to craft a DEI plan That's a long-term strategy and plan for us as an organization. That's a long-term commitment internally, and it's not something we've been very public about because we're in process on it. And it's important for us to do the work internally at Sounders FC while we continue to impact the community through our social justice framework externally. And so as we remind all of you, right, we have both our beliefs and our 4 arenas for change inside our social justice framework, but we also have these promises. These promises are really the strategy screen that guide the decisions that we make inside Sounders FC, guide our investments, and guide the way that we behave to encourage us to be consistent in our activities and our actions year over year. When you look at our social justice report this year, you actually will see us report on each one of these promises. It was really important for us to tie our impact to our behaviors as an organization externally in the community, and when you read the report, you'll see that reflected. But first, in the report, you'll see us tell 3 stories, because really the secret sauce of everything that we do is when we can show up in intersectional ways, when we're motivated and empowered and in the right place and the right time to work collectively on multiple arenas for change, where we can bring together and convene multiple of our partners and stakeholders and have deep and meaningful impact in multiple ways throughout the year. And the first of those, and you can go to the slide now, thanks very much, is the celebration of women and girls in sport and soccer. We were able to double down on our partnership there, not only with OL Reign, but with the Seattle Storm. OL Reign and Sounders FC opened Larchmont Elementary School, the first collaborative mini pitch between our 2 soccer organizations that was funded in large part by the doubleheader we hosted last year. We expect to announce what that next iteration of our partnership with OL Reign is as we move into this year, and as you heard Peter talk about the doubleheader opportunity that's in front of us again. OL Reign and Sounders FC also partnered with Athlete Ally and also with Trans Kids and WIAA to support the Transgender Kids Toolkit, right, which is a toolkit that we sponsored and funded last year. And this year we were able to host a number of athletes throughout the activities that we did collaboratively in the month of June around Pride, including raising the Progress Pride flag above Lumen Field. With Seattle Storm, we have secured their commitment to be our partner on 3 more collaborative mini pitches with basketball and soccer as the hook. And so we've opened one, we'll open the next one in early 2022. Again, their commitment to make sure that they're bringing the same accessible opportunities to play for girls specifically in basketball, and we can do that with soccer in the same spaces that we're building. We also were able this year, and this is the best part of the year for me, to make an impact on International Women's Day. February comes real fast in our calendar year. And this year we were able to go with all of our female employees from Sounders FC to White Center Heights Elementary School and support a female teacher on campus who has started an after-school girls soccer program to give girls the opportunity to play who would not have played but for having a safe space just for them, for girls to play. And so we were able to deliver an after-school program for them. We were able to provide full kits. They got full Sounders FC kits, soccer balls, and then we were able to continue to stay in contact with that teacher and that program to ensure those kids have been playing throughout the year. The coaches that helped us that day were a number of coaches from Cultures United. Cultures United is a BIPOC local community-led soccer organization. They started because there were not coaches and opportunities for kids to play in communities in Kent and Tukwila and Renton and South Seattle. And so a group of community members got together and created a place to play. They wanted to start a women's team for girls to play after high school. And they needed funding because fields cost money, right? Uniforms cost money, league registration fees cost money. So I'm happy to say as part of this commitment, Sounders FC is committed to seed fund that Cultures United girls soccer team, women's soccer team, for the next 3 years. Those coaches are also employed by Rave in the summer to coach our Rave clinics. So they're getting education as support for their athletic endeavor to continue to play soccer, as well as sponsorship and mentorship around coaching the game that they love. That day was a really special day for me. The other day that was special, although I missed it, unfortunately, was the day that we got to celebrate Title IX at our Sounders FC match. When we turn our platform at Sounders FC over to support our social impact narratives, we do a lot of things that don't ever make it in front of the camera. And one of those was the opportunity to host a girls and women in sports panel. And again, our employees at Sounders FC, our female employees, were front and center for this. 100 young student athletes, middle school to early high school age, including 50 from those rave target communities, came to our match day to have a career sports panel conversation with our front office staff. We were also able to partner with Legends of Washington Soccer. They were able to provide a history pop-up, a museum pop-up at our match day, and hopefully you saw it, Scarves Up, a number of women from the history of Washington Youth Soccer who were able to do scarves, including Gina Casella, who was actually the very first female coach for a professional soccer team, the Seattle Sounders, in 1994. And along with the first A-licensed coach, female A-licensed coach, and maybe for those of you that will go way back in MLS, Sandra Hunt, referee, who was one of 2 women head referees that coached their first, the first women referees to coach in MLS, or sorry, referee in MLS. They raised the Scarves Up. It's really important for us to connect the past, the present, and the future as we think about going into the 50th anniversary. Sorry. All right, women in sport. Personal pride for me. Next story. Also really important for us this year was the opportunity to invest at Barge Lincoln Elementary School. Barge Lincoln Elementary School is in Yakima. It is the first investment that we were able to make on the eastern side of the state. We've gotten to know Yakima Public Schools really, really well, and essentially the superintendent has told us we will be at every elementary school in Yakima before we're done. We intend to be at every elementary school in Yakima before we're done, and every elementary school that we can get our hands on in the state, on the eastern side of the state in particular. This one's a really special project because we actually were at Barge Lincoln 5 times this year. 5 times we went across to that elementary school, and the first time we were there was shortly after we won the CCL title. We took the trophy over the mountains with us, and at recess, the kids were coming up, and I will remember this to the day that I die. One of the kids who came over to the trophy asked why Sounders FC was here. Because, and he said, no one ever comes to our school. And I said, well, we're here, and we're going to be back again in June, and we're going to be back again in the summer, and then we're going to be back again in September. And we're going to bring the trophy, and we're going to bring soccer balls, and Sounders FC is going to be here. And is that okay? And he said, yes, if you bring the trophy every time. And I was like, I'm not sure that's going to happen. But we were there in May, a week after we won the CCL trophy, with our friends at EarthGen, building an outdoor learning lab and rain garden. That rain garden now takes the runoff from our 2 futsal pitches. We've invested with EarthGen in sustainability education, so there's a green team now at Barge Lincoln Elementary School that can see the connection between the activities of putting their hands in the ground to improve their school, to create an outdoor learning classroom connected to soccer, and that they're all connected to the wider world. We went back over there and celebrated the grand opening as part of the official Latinx Heritage Month activities in downtown Yakima. The entire community came out. We brought those kids across the mountains to a Sounders game, and hopefully if you were at that game in September, you saw the steel drum band playing out in front of everyone along with our sound wave. That's the steel drum group from Barge Lincoln. Those student athletes, those kids in that school, those young artists now know that Sounders FC does come to Yakima, does come to Barge Lincoln, and people do know where and care about where they are, where they live, where they work, where they play. That's investment number 1 in Eastern Washington. Like I said earlier, those 2 mini pitches got us to 13, so we are at the halfway point for 26 by 2026. And the last story sort of this intersectionality is just around Juneteenth. This is the area where we've been growing into our social justice framework the most over the last couple of years, leaning into what does it mean to be an organization that fights racism? What does that mean for us and how we show up? What are those things, what are those partnerships we curate? How can we help? How can soccer help, right, in this ecosystem, in this community? And one of our core partners has been NAM, the Northwest African American Museum. They have this amazing program that they curated with us called Books and Balls. And it's a really simple project, putting books written by Black authors, illustrated by Black illustrators, in the hands of kids. And what if we paired that book with a ball? And so 2 years ago, we started Books and Balls during COVID. We did it as part of mobile MLK Day sort of activities, and we've now expanded it. So annually with NAM, through activities and events, we're now distributing between 500 and 1,000 high-quality soccer balls with culturally representative books with this program. At Juneteenth this year with NAM, we also targeted our investments in New Holly, a community that we've been working with for a very long time, and broke ground on 2 mini pitches that'll be like Yesler Terrace in partnership with the Seattle Housing Authority at New Holly, which will open in next year. And hopefully all of you at our match days this year were able to sample all of the amazing food that we hosted in the North Plaza. 48 different small businesses in the North Plaza hosted food trucks that were curated by the Intentionalists, BIPOC minority, women-owned small businesses. And you can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide too. Perfect. Okay, so if you read our social impact report, shameless plug right now, right? These are the components. We just talked about the stories. And like I said, the other big component this year, if you look at it, are going to be the promise statement. So we can go into that. Next slide. This is what you'll see. I'm not going to make anybody read it. But we've made 7 promises. This is the one about convening and collaborating with experts, raising and partnership experts. Through your efforts, through our efforts this year, through the Intentionalists, $208,000 of direct investment in small businesses through Sounders FC fans, Batch Day, and direct spend from the front office and the first team. We hosted 4 museum pop-ups. We hope to do more next year. And we also continue internally working and hosting social justice speaker series, convening experts to come educate our staff, collaborating with OL Reign and all of the sports teams to do so, to make sure that we are continuing to push our own education around bias to the forefront of our work. Next slide. We're also committed to attract, retain, and train a diverse and inclusive workforce. I mentioned the work we did with CEI. We've also partnered with Seattle U on the fellowship program in their sports MBA. We started a career pathways project with the Puyallup Tribe of Indians this year, which included hosting some initial students in the Sports Media Institute and also in broadcast internships, and we will expand those programs as we go forward. We've also partnered with MLS and made sure that our employees have access to the McKinstry program dedicated to elevate and accelerate the careers of Asian, Latino, and Black employees in MLS. Next slide. Okay. Poor transition, but Seattle 2026. What is this all getting us to? All of this work, all the way in which Seattle shows up to soccer, all the work that we're doing is threaded into this bid. We centered it on 3 big ideas. Soccer's the heart of everything we do. We do soccer really well. Innovation. This city is known, this region is known as the incubator of big ideas, right? How are the ways that we can help innovate as we look at 26? And then obviously, everyone. This is going to be the most inclusive place to come. You want to come to Seattle because all are welcome here, and this matches that we put on are going to be accessible to everyone. You can go next slide. Thank you, all of you, because this is an intergenerational process to get here. I know that we got the chance to say that we got this thing, but this is 4 generations of hard work to bring this event to the city of Seattle. And it's because of that, all of that collective work, that we can now call this dream a reality. Next slide. We're going a little faster now. We made 4 legacy commitments. 26 by 26 is one of them, right? That play is human and it's every child's right. We made that commitment to FIFA. We made a commitment to center all of our activities on the ground floor, because we know that's how our soccer fans already experience soccer games. And if we drive people to the ground floor and keep them on the ground floor while they are here, they will patronize our small businesses, they will explore our communities, they will stay out of cars, they will stay on the streets, and we can help raise the impact of their spend and of their time while they're here in the city of Seattle. We also committed to extend the realities of Lumen Field. Lumen Field converts 98% of waste. I hope you all knew that. We have a solar array that sits on top of the event center that actually produces enough energy to power Lumen Field in the summer months. How do we take the best practices from Lumen, from the Green Sport Alliance, from what we now know from our friends at Climate Pledge, and extend it out to all of the events that we operate? And how do we make this accessible? How do we ensure that when we have a fan fest at Pier 62, there's also an opportunity for someone in Spokane or in Yakima or in Yesler Terrace to experience a fan fest simultaneously with what's happening at Pier 62? We can do that. We can make this feeling, this excitement, this indelible moment a part of everyone's experience, regardless of whether you come from afar to come to the city of Seattle, or you're a local, or you live in a region of the state that's a little bit further afield. We want to make this accessible for you. Next slide. This is the downtown footprint. It should look simple. It should look similar to everything that we know about Sounders FC. All we've done is extended the March to the Match. That's all we've done. It now goes from Westlake Center. It exploits the new investments that the aquarium is going to make directly through Pike Place Market, drops you at Pier 62. That waterfront is going to be beautiful in the summer of 2026. And those east-west connectors into Pioneer Square, into Occidental, and the heart of what we do on match day is part of our bid and the way that we envision this tournament. And lastly here, as we round up, the most important pieces of this are the legacy that we want to leave behind. That picture is Adrian Hanauer, John Best soccer camp when he was 8 years old. So we asked ourselves once we got this thing, because this is the story that Adrian told to FIFA on Halloween a year ago about being an 8-year-old and falling in love with the game. We asked ourselves inside of the LOC as we set this up, what if we center every 8-year-old? What if we center the aspiration that as we make decisions, we make them in a way that ensures that every 8-year-old has a core memory, an indelible moment of reflection that connects them through this event in this moment in time. Doesn't mean they have to love soccer, doesn't mean they have to play soccer, but how do we do that? And if we can do that, if we can center that in our decision making about all the events and activities, that we know we're gonna sell out the stadium, we know it's going to be an economic success. But then if we center every 8-year-old, we know that the legacy of this event could have profound implications because we don't know where the next Adrian Hanauer is going to come from. And that's important to us, definitely and truly, as we now look at FIFA and say, we got this thing and here's how we're going to deliver it. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. There's one more slide because I think there's some like big questions. First of all, I'm just going to deal grass, yes. Lumen Field will be grass for 2026. FIFA has grass experts. They know everything there is, including testing grass in microclimates distinct San Francisco from Seattle. They will tell us what to put down, how to maintain it, what it needs to, the depth of everything, and that's what's going to be put into Lumen Field for 2026 because we'll have to meet their exacting standards, and I expect to touch, feel, bare feet on grass when I get to Qatar and know that it won't grow the same here and it won't matter, but we'll have grass. Tickets. We don't control ticketing at the local organizing committee level. FIFA will control ticketing as they do. Having said that, in August when they were here, we were very clear in advocating for two things. First, that our season ticket members inside of Sounders FC, specifically in Seattle, but in MLS generally, get the right of first refusal to buy tickets in our own venues. So we will continue to advocate for that. We don't control it, but that we will continue to advocate for you all to get a first right to purchase tickets at Lumen Field for the summer of 2026. And we will continue to advocate for accessible ticket prices. We absolutely believe what we know you all believe, and that is that the local population, folks in our own community, kids who otherwise wouldn't have access, cannot be priced out of this event for us to have the legacy implications that we so desire. And so we will continue to advocate for those two things. And lastly, for right now, if you want to get involved, SeattleC2026.com, you can fill out the little form, and we will keep you on a list to support the World Cup activities as it moves forward. And, you know, again, if you didn't know, the World Cup in Qatar kicks off very soon. These two will be there. Come with us, watch at the Armory. Go to, I guess, Peter's buying or matching every beer that you all drink at 7 a.m. for the final. 11 a.m. for most of the time. And join us at the Armory, Rave Foundation, 26 by 2026. We'll have an auction there, an opportunity for you to get involved that day after Thanksgiving. The train will be running. It'll be a lot of fun. But thank you very much, because our impact, and you'll see in the report, is our collective impact. It's the power of soccer to do more, to convene, and I fundamentally believe, because those of you who do know me hear me say it all the time, soccer has the capacity to change the world. And we're committed to that here. We're committed to our legacy, and as excited as we are about the next 4 years of growth, we're also equally committed to getting there the right way. So thank you for being part of our family, and here's to 2023. Bring it on.
So one thing you didn't, Maya is a very modest person, but one thing that didn't get explained or talked about was the fact that this is more than just a project to her. It's a very personal thing. And I'm gonna, is this okay, Maya, if I talk about you in a very personal way? It doesn't matter, because I'm gonna do it anyway. Her father, Fred, was responsible for getting Lumen Field put together. And in his mad genius of doing this, right, 1999, Kingdom goes down, Lumen Field goes up, and he creates a stipulation in there: should we ever get the right to host the World Cup, Lumen Field has to be available for it. It's part of the law. It's part of the stipulation. That's the genius of her father. And so she has now completed what her father started as a dream, and a dream come true. So credit to Maya and her family. Let's give her a shout out. Now she's all embarrassed. She's gonna be really pissed and mad at me, but that's, anyways, they'd rather hear music than me speak.
as I don't fall
Just
off.
come this way. There you go. Is that okay, Cameron? You want us to scooch over more?
No, it's perfect.
Thank you.
I didn't change the batteries.
Stacy, do you have your votes yet?
Yes, I do. I got them.
You got all 25?
And
There you go.
we will vote for others. Step with me now.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're excited to have a Q&A with all of the speakers that we've had today. If you have a question that you'd like to be asked, there are note cards. I know back there, you can write questions and bring them over to Michaela, who's waving right now, and we can get them in the rotation here. So our first question is for Garth from Kenneth. What is the strategy this year for new signings? Do you anticipate any large international signings?
We always look for guys that were 6 foot tall, especially at center back. No, look, I mean, look, from a structural perspective, we have our 3 DP spots full. We have our under 22 DP spot full. So when you talk about large signings, presumably that DP level, I don't see that happening. We definitely have room for TAM level signings. But we, as I said in the original chat, we have 25 guys under contract already. So, and we did that intentionally with the idea of certainly going for Champions League, but then were we fortunate enough to win to be ready for Club World Cup, because as it turns out, they're not going to give us a lot of ramp up time. So, we could field, the good news is we could field a team tomorrow. I think that would be very competitive, certainly if JP got back. But I think in terms of large signings, I think you're talking about 1 or 2 guys that will come in and help the team.
All right, thank you. Next question, Peter or whomever wants to answer it. Where will I be able to hear the Sounders on radio in 2023? Who will be the new commentators? And is there something I'll be able to, or is there a way I'll be able to access it on Apple or the radio station? Do we know any news on that?
In terms of the radio, it's going to be the same as last year. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, Taylor.
There's your expert.
But one of the things that I wanted to say about local broadcast, because I think that's what everybody's worried about in terms of Apple, is one of the things that was really interesting. We were at the MLS All-Star game, and we heard from Eddie Q, who's the head of Apple, in the relationship between MLS and Apple. They asked Apple, what was the things that you learned from broadcasting MLB baseball? And they said 2 things we learned that were super important. One is our fans and people love data, and so they plan to incorporate data in a very aggressive way, which I'm really anxious to see. The second was the importance of local broadcast. And so to that end, they're very focused on how to incorporate local broadcast into the Apple ecosystem. And they're working on it, and we're working on it. More to come. But as far as like where things are going to be, for sure, I'll let Taylor answer that question.
Yeah, it's the interesting part about the Apple opportunity is that a lot of clubs have been in a pause posture until we got the Apple media rights, global media rights deal in place. And so now that we understand the first domino to fall, we're working on everything that comes downstream. And what we know for certainty is we have a great partner in iHeartMedia and KJR. Radio is more important than ever next year as matches are singularly produced at the league level. And there will be a chance that, so every match, every Sounders match will have a national English, a national Spanish, and some matches very likely will have a local radio simulcast as part of it. It's very important that you guys can listen to a Seattle voice speak for our matches. And so all that work is happening in real time. And I know that we will announce our full local media partnerships likely in the February timeframe leading into the season.
This question is from Maya, from Stefan. Can you elaborate on the carbon neutral efforts of the club?
Sure. So in 2019, we became a carbon neutral club. We work closely with our partners at, 2018, our partners at Sustainable Business Consulting to measure our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions every year, and then offset those carbon emissions measure those and then offset them by tree planting. And so many of you have come with us and planted. We've worked with Dirt Corps and Forterra here and their projects along the Cedar Green River watershed, the Duwamish River watershed, and we get our hands dirty and we plant trees, we clear blackberry bushes and other invasive species, we restore salmon habitat, and we ensure that other ground cover and other replacement sort of greenery along the watershed help improve the ecosystem and make it better than when we left it. We are currently investigating sort of what our long-term strategy and sustainability will be, especially as we move into this facility and have a new opportunity to think about energy emissions, the way in which we engage with the natural habitat and the water features that are here on site. And we expect to be able to talk more about that as we go forward in 2023 and 2024. But we'll continue to measure our emissions. We'll continue to think about the ways in which to offset and also, most importantly, to reduce consumption, and something that we can do unique when we are all under one roof here at Longacres for the first time.
This question's for Adrian. Can you talk to us about the Zulily as a sponsor and how long that goes for, and what the future is of sponsorship in that way?
Sure. Well, Zulily has been a fantastic partner, first with Jeff Yurkison, who was running the company, and they've had recent leadership change. Terry Boyle now the CEO. We hope that Zulily is a partner, one of the partner in the family for a long time. We may or may not have some announcements about front of the jersey in the not too distant future. The deal was a contract through the 2022 season, so more to come there. But we will have a great jersey partner in 2023 and beyond.
One great perk of having tickets to the Kraken or the Storm is that public transit is included. And so this would be a question probably for Taylor or Maya. Since the Sounders care about the environment, is there any way to include mass transit or bus discount like those clubs do?
This is a great question. I think the first thing to say is that one of the things that we've learned through the World Cup process and are really proud of is that Lumen Field itself sits at the most transit-rich hub of any major stadium on the West Coast. We have long-standing conversations with Sound Transit to figure out better ways to service our matches. And we now know one of the things that maybe is a knock-on effect of the Apple TV deal is having destination matches of having Wednesday nights and Saturday nights gives us a lot more consistency in the calendar to have those conversations in a concerted effort. When we talk about 17 matches at different times, different days of the week, it's a little hard to have those conversations in a way that allows for our mass transit company to also help plan to service our matches. But the consolidation in the schedule is going to give us that opportunity. And I think all of those options are on the table. I enjoy using the Kraken app, and we geek out and we spend time with those folks to sort of figure out what are those best practices you've learned about Climate Pledge over the last 2 years and helping to get your fans into the Seattle Center area and out of the Seattle Center area in more efficient ways and certainly more sustainable ways.
I'll add two quick things. One, we do measure transportation for all of our fans to and from every match in our carbon footprint calculation. That's already a part of our carbon neutral posture. Number two is transportation's one of a handful of barriers that we hear from fans about coming to match day. And so we are committed to making sure our matches are accessible from everyone, and transportation's a key part of that. And so please know that we're talking about it in real time and leaning on our partners in the Kraken through their technology and their learnings and their insights.
Next question is for Henry. Can you discuss player recruitment? Does this rely on existing clubs or teams or school teams and tournaments? And how can you engage with players from underserved communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to player recruitment, we look at a host of I guess, facets or pathways that a player can come to us. There's the existing, what we would consider traditional club system. Okay, so your Seattle United, your PAC, okay, your clubs that are playing within a structured organization or system within the community. And then we have multiple players that are within our academy. We have multiple players that are working with our players and our scouts to come from different areas as well. If I look at Dragons FC, if I look at Atletico de PAC, if I look at Celtic, there's a bunch of clubs that we give access to and we scout heavily in. It's not just about what player that comes from what club, but these players that we find from different areas. We talked about Danny Leva in the player development part. We talked about Obed, and these players are coming from places where there's no access to an MLS club. There's no access to that type of level of coaching. And so we ensure that everybody has the same equity when it comes to being able to be part of this developmental program.
Taylor, will our scarves be mailed to us because waiting in that giant line was no fun?
If you will prefer your scarf to be mailed to you, it will be mailed to you next year. There will be an opt-in for those fans that prefer that method. There will be an option for fans to come to the stadium if that's your preference for next year.
By the way, don't blame Taylor for the lack of the box. The man who is sitting right here is the person responsible for elimination of the box. And, you know, I think we learned a lot. I will say the following, which is exactly what Taylor just said. We want to deliver things to people that actually want them. And, you know, when we decided, or when I guess I imposed upon the group to eliminate the mailing of the scarves, you had to understand at the time we had a 15% return addresses. We were having our service team was overwhelmed with like trying to chase down these, you know, where to find the new addresses and all those kind of things. And it was just a lot of time, a lot of energy spent on doing that. And what we really want to do is just deliver things, products, to people that actually want them and where they can get them. And so whatever works best for you. And so we tried not doing it. And we heard loud and clear, you know, that some people definitely want it. And so we're going to try to figure it out.
This question.
Don't blame Taylor. He does not deserve that at all.
This question is from Grandma ML, and the question is, what happens to the 90? Will it be open before matches again?
You should pass the microphone. Yes. Yeah. No crickets, Stacy. Yeah, the 90 is a key piece of our club, and we've used it in different ways. And as we bring the full pre-pandemic match day back, that's a key area that we're going to continue to invest in.
And the flashlight.
My dream.
How will the Tacoma Defiance roster, or how will Tacoma Defiance fill out the roster next season?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to put it is we have some very exciting players coming through the system right now. I think they're very, very close to putting themselves in that professional pathway. So we're going to fill it, obviously, from that aspect coming in from the academy. We'll also look at the density of talent that we have within the first team. The players that are there that are very young as well are going to be getting substantial minutes within Tacoma Defiance as well to keep their development going. And then we always like to bring in players that can help develop our youngest potential players as well. We're going to bring in players that do have already proven pro experience. We're going to bring in the players that can help create the environment that we need to create so that these young players have somebody, one, to look to, but also somebody to emulate, not just within our first team, but within their day-to-day environment.
Can we give a shout out to Wade Weber?
Wade.
Honestly, the man did an amazing job. The first time we've ever made the playoffs as a Defiance team, and couldn't be prouder of him. He was just a great developer of talent with Henry. But on the field, Wade just did a ginormous job. I mean, I'm sure he's nervous because he's got to restack. But as a leader, as a coach, as someone that can help develop our kids, unbelievable. And so really got to be proud of him.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So Wade is flying back to Seattle tomorrow, having just finished his pro license within U.S. soccer. So another congratulations to Wade as well.
So this question is from Walter, and it is about the Sounders app. If you're an Android user, it often logs you out. In fact, I've had to do it where I've been logged out twice in a row when I've just brought up my tickets. And starting 11 doesn't work, and there's some other issues in there. Is there any further development that's going to go on with the app, or is that something that the club is moving away from?
Yeah, but breaking news, the Sounders will have a new app within the next month. And just to expansion beyond that, we're really proud of the app that's been very consistent, high quality. Sorry for Walter and his poor experience, but I think what's important to us is that we have mechanisms to speak to members and different types of members in different ways, so we can diversify outside of your emails and stop sending as many emails, and then we can deliver the right experience to you, whether you are a season ticket member, whether you're coming to your first match, or whether you're a fan of the club in Lima, Peru. Your app experience should be different.
This question is from Tom G. for Garth and Peter. What is the #1 on-field and off-field goal of the 2023 season?
I think it has to be get back in the playoffs, right? I mean, as a starting point, I mean, we can't do that twice in a row. But look, I think we're going to compete for a championship again. I really feel like you look at that team again. You look at the number of CONCACAF Champions League best 11 players, seven guys, and they're all coming back. And as we talked about, 4 of them are playing in the World Cup and they're prime age. And I feel really good about our group going into next year.
I'd say off the field, we really need to focus heavily on our corporate partnerships business and our premium business. And those 2 things are probably the key things and drivers of future revenue for the club. It was a tough year, as I mentioned earlier, in 2020 and to 2021. We had to rebuild basically our entire business on the ticketing side and on the corporate partnership side. And that work is ongoing. We've made some great strides. Hopefully we'll be able to announce some really big things and important things very shortly. But that continues to be where we probably can pick up the most, I would say.
This question is about Defiance on the business side. Why were Defiance season ticket holders never contacted this last season about the change to MLS Next Pro and being season ticket holders?
Yeah, so when we left MLS Next Pro, we downshifted away from the Tacoma Rainiers. And so the Tacoma Rainiers were our partner in ticketing for all Tacoma Defiance matches previous to MLS Next Pro. We worked with them to communicate to the folks that were in the ecosystem to let folks know that the matches were no longer going to be at Cheney in USL, and then worked really hard with MLS Next Pro as the schedule format, as the competition calendar came out, to push information out anew as we transition back to Starfire for MLS Next Pro. I think the thing that we were really proud about is that MLS Next Pro went with us on our idea this year to take all of the ticket proceeds from MLS Next Pro matches and push them to our commitment to 26 by 2026. The year of transition allowed us some flexibility. This is a league that is creative, that is trying new things, and one of those things was the capacity to think about ticketing in a different way. And so it's something that allowed us to generate some additional income, support fundraising efforts, and support that message around 26 by 2026 as players enter the pathway and as we leave that legacy behind for the next generation of soccer players.
And we genuinely apologize if there was some miscommunication or lack of communication. You know, we're not perfect. And we take all these things as learning opportunities. And if there were people that were put out by that, we're very, very sorry.
I'm going to go off script here because I feel bad for Tom just sitting there. So what's your favorite thing that's going to be in this beautiful building moving forward?
There's a lot to choose from. I did mention my lunchroom got upgraded considerably from a bad desk in my office in Pioneer Square in this new building. I do think that actually will be it, is that every day I'll be able to walk out, have lunch, and walk out to that deck and watch training for the first time. I haven't been to Starfire in 3 years because of COVID protocols. Just the chance for all of us to be connected again in a real way that we never had a chance before. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And it's going to be a hell of a party space, that second deck.
Garth, this question is from Murphy. How will the Apple TV deal impact our spending on new players during the winter signing period?
Well, considering it's not operational in the winter signing period, it might be a little bit premature. But no, look, the substantive thing there is if you go back in time 30 years and you had a couple of baseball teams, the Cubs on WGN and the Braves on WTBS, and you know, in that medium, those were the teams that were on nationwide. And to this day, those brands are all over the country. And we think that that same thing can be replicated with the Apple deal, where, you know, we are then on TVs all over the world. And again, then you have people, you have kids watching the team and saying, oh, that Sounders, we can't well, wait till you see this new jersey. Peter's already teased it, but it's going to be amazing. I got to have that jersey. I want to go play for that team. I see, you know, 40,000 people turning their flashlights on after goals and screaming and cheering, and you know, I want to be part of that when I grow up, and that's cool, right? I mean, that makes then Seattle and the Sounders and MLS the shining city on the hill, and it's really exciting to think about, you know, both on and off the field in terms of the calls that I think we're going to get from kids all over the world saying, I want to go play for the Sounders. And look, I think some of them come over and play for our academy and want to move their families to Seattle, and you know, I think it's just a really, really cool opportunity.
It's a final question. Henry, what is the frequency of meetings with players regarding their status to move towards the first team? And what's the process of dropping players? Do they get a plan as well if that's not their path?
Yeah, I think to answer the first question, it's very consistent and it's very frequent. I think we have multiple benchmarking events throughout the year. We have, you know, Winter Showcase, GA Cup. We obviously have the start of the Tacoma Defiance season. We have the end of Tacoma Defiance season. And we like to meet minimum 3 to 4 times yearly regarding that player's pathway. And regardless of what the player's pathway is, there will always be a plan. So if we look at a player that might be high potential and they're going to be geared towards a more professional pathway, that is something that we can start to prepare them for, not just, you know, as a player, but also mentally, physically, and give them all the tools that they need to step into the professional game. And that might be training sessions with Tacoma Defiance, that might be training sessions with the first team to start to pressure test them in an environment that makes them extremely uncomfortable. Now, for the players that are helping those players develop and get to those stages and achieve those goals, the players that might be on a more traditional pathway, meaning college, okay, we're starting to allow those players to go for their official visits during the season, going to, you know, I guess last week we had 2 players at Grand Canyon University, we had a player at Clemson, and we had a player at, I think, USF. This is in the past month. So regardless of the pathway they're moving towards, we try to support them in every possible way to help them get to whatever that next step is. Because the reality is they're always playing for their next coach. They're not playing for the coach they're playing for right now. So we try to make sure that we give them the tools to enter either pathway. We want them all to make it. They're not all going to make it. But the ones that follow our advice and the ones that adhere to the process, they do have success in the game beyond our academy and beyond our club.
You have something to say? Yeah.
I just wanted to end with a final thank you. First to the group up here answering the questions with authority and expertise, shielding me from having to make up answers and hope that I'm getting them right. to the staff here who've made this event possible, to the entire Sounders staff, really, for all you do, to Alliance Council for making this event an annual great event and part of democracy and sport, and again, just really to all of you, to our fans, who make everything we do possible, are there day and night for our team, to support the players and help us win games and win championships and create moments, enrich lives, unify through soccer, which you have probably come to be sick of hearing us repeat, but it really is the lens through which we look at our jobs and how we are stewards of this franchise for the community. So thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you watching or being here in person. And if you missed anything and you want to see it, it will be available online to watch later. And if you want to join the Alliance Council, be sure to find one of us and talk about it, like Stacy here, who just got her votes to be on Alliance Council next year. So thank you, everybody. Good night.